What if I told you there's a world so cold, so distant, and so mysterious that even scientists once erased it from the list of planets, and yet it refused to be forgotten? This is Pluto. For decades, Pluto was the ninth planet of our solar system. Discovered in 1930 by astronomer Clyde Tombaugh, it was celebrated as the final frontier of our planetary neighborhood. Textbooks printed it. Classrooms memorized it. Posters displayed it proudly at the edge of the solar system. But then in 2006, everything changed. The International Astronomical Union officially reclassified Pluto as a dwarf planet. Just like that, Pluto was demoted. But here's the twist. The more we study Pluto, the more fascinating it becomes. Let's start with its size. Pluto is tiny. In fact, it's smaller than Earth's moon. If you place Pluto across the United States, it wouldn't even stretch from coast to coast. It's about 1,477 miles wide, barely half the width of the continental US. Despite its size, Pluto has an incredibly complex surface. It's not just a frozen rock drifting in darkness. It has mountains. It has glaciers. It even has what looks like a giant heart. Yes, a heart. When NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto in 2015, it captured breathtaking images of a bright, heart-shaped region on its surface. Scientists named it Tombaugh Regio, after Pluto's discoverer. That heart isn't just symbolic. It's made of nitrogen ice and is constantly reshaped by glacial flows. Imagine glaciers made not of water, but of frozen nitrogen. And those mountains? They're made of water ice, but at Pluto's temperatures, water ice is as hard as rock. Some of these mountains rise as high as 11,000 feet. That's comparable to the Rocky Mountains. On a world smaller than our moon, now let's talk about how cold Pluto really is. Pluto sits an average of 3.7 billion miles from the Sun. At that distance, sunlight is about 1,600 times dimmer than what we see on Earth. Temperatures can drop to minus 375 degrees Fahrenheit. That's so cold that most gases freeze solid. And yet, Pluto still has an atmosphere. It's thin and hazy, made mostly of nitrogen, with traces of methane and carbon monoxide. But here's the strange part. Pluto's atmosphere actually expands when it gets closer to the Sun and freezes and collapses when it moves farther away. Imagine an atmosphere that literally snows itself out of existence. Now here's something even more surprising. Pluto doesn't orbit the Sun in a neat, flat circle like most planets. Its orbit is highly elliptical and tilted. Sometimes Pluto is actually closer to the Sun than Neptune. Yes, for about 20 years of its 248-year orbit, Pluto moves inside Neptune's orbit. But don't worry, they never collide. Their orbits are locked in a precise gravitational dance that keeps them safely apart. It's cosmic choreography at its finest. And Pluto doesn't travel alone. It has 5 known moons. The largest is Charon, and this is where things get really interesting. Charon is so big compared to Pluto that the two are sometimes called a binary system. Instead of Charon simply orbiting Pluto, both bodies orbit a point in space between them. That means Pluto and Charon are gravitational partners, locked face to face in an eternal embrace. If you stood on Pluto, Charon would appear huge in the sky, much larger than our moon appears from Earth. Now let's return to the question everyone asks. Why was Pluto demoted? The answer lies in definition. In 2006, astronomers decided that to be a full planet, an object must orbit the Sun, be round due to its own gravity, clear its orbit of other debris. Pluto meets the first 2 conditions, but it fails the third. It shares its orbital region with many other icy objects in the Kuiper Belt, a vast ring of frozen bodies beyond Neptune. So officially, Pluto became a dwarf planet. But here's the debate. Many scientists argue that the definition is flawed. Some believe Pluto deserves its planetary status back. And honestly, whether you call it a planet or a dwarf planet, Pluto is anything but ordinary. Here's one more incredible fact. When New Horizons flew by Pluto in 2015, it took over 9 years to get there. Traveling at more than 30,000 miles per hour, it was the fastest spacecraft ever launched at the time. And even then, it only had a few hours to collect close-up data before speeding past into deep space. Those few hours completely transformed what we know about Pluto. We discovered active geology, ice volcanoes, massive plains of frozen nitrogen, blue atmospheric hazes, and a world far more dynamic than anyone expected. For decades, Pluto was thought to be frozen and dead. Instead, it turned out to be active and complex. And here's something poetic. In Roman mythology, Pluto was the god of the underworld, ruler of the unseen realm. Befitting, isn't it? A world hidden in darkness. Misunderstood, pushed aside. Yet full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. So maybe Pluto wasn't demoted. Maybe it was redefined. Because sometimes being different doesn't make you less important. It makes you extraordinary. Next time you look up at the night sky, remember, out there, billions of miles away, a tiny world with a frozen heart continues its silent journey around the sun. Still mysterious. Still powerful. Still Pluto. If you enjoyed this journey to the edge of our solar system, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Pluto should be a planet again? Because the debate isn't over. And neither is Pluto's story.